I did some work with the Centre for Peace and Conflict Studies earlier in the year, working with some children from the Landmine Museum, and we did a painting project on the theme of peace, and it started off really what has become the exhibition now. I'm very supportive of the Peace Museum project idea. I think it will be a wonderful addition to Siem Reap. So the idea for this came with the knowledge of the 25th anniversary coming up in October, today, 23rd of October, 1991. I knew Tim Page from a number of years ago when he documented the Weapon into Sculpture project. So I contacted Tim and he loved the idea of doing this exhibition. So over the past 3 months we've been working on this together. And what started off as a photography show really sort of progressed into more of a storytelling exhibition, I suppose. I wanted to give as much information about the UNTAC period to guests that came to view the exhibition rather than just photographs and captions. So together with the images that Tim supplied, we've also put copies of old issues from the Phnom Penh Post, which reflect really what was going on at the time during 92-93, courtesy of Michael Hayes, who was the co-founder of the Phnom Penh Post.
It's always fantastic to see your pictures, your photos on the wall. I mean, it's hard these days to publish a big spread in a magazine. It's difficult to get pictures displayed in public. We have now become used to the screen, and the problem with the screen is that you forget everything you see. It's gone. It's deleted from your mind. Whereas if you have something to look at, or you have something on a wall, and I mean, in a sense, it's a very good thing that after the pictures are here, which is a nice opening and fantastic, they then become the heritage of the people in the pictures, the Cambodians. And I suppose that's about, for culture, you need history. History needs culture, which comes first, chicken or egg. But having said that, these people have very little sense of their own modern history. I mean, there is Angkor, Sihanouk, Khmer Rouge, the Yun, the Vietnamese, and Hun Sen. And they have little other idea of what is going on. The media here is not, how should we put this, not as frank as it should be. It's not as critical as it should be. Democracy has fallen short of the plank here. And I mean this in the sense that the ruling party has usurped the power of the plurality of the vote. And I think this will get reversed in 2018. I think the opposition will hopefully get in, and there'll be more transparency, there will be more honesty, less corruption. And maybe this is by showing people their history, a bit like the project I was working on before, by giving people their land titles. First of all, they got the vote in '93. Now they're getting land titles. Now they're getting presented with a true version of their own history and their modern times. And I think that this will accelerate the process of liberation from virtually a one-party state. I think that it's another, should we say, it's another brick in the wall, it's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle of putting Cambodia back together. I mean, it's hard to see from here to a museum or a gallery as a permanent place. I don't know how that's going to work, but the fact that it's been created and it's already something tangible, something which has got some cojones, and it's a breathing thing. I think this is very progressive, and it feels very good to be part of this. I don't think that back in the 90s, when UNTAC came and this first part of the peace thing started to happen, I don't think we could have imagined where it would have got to in 25 years. And you look outside, there's a computer shop, there's a cafe, there's bottles of wine, there's sculptures, there's people working, there's a certain prosperity, there is no real threat to the people. In fact, I mean, Cambodia has come so far in those 25 years, it's almost unrecognizable. And I'm convinced that what the UN did here 25 years ago was the best thing. I mean, it was worth every penny of the 8 billion they spent. And when you think that there were only 45 foreigners or UN personnel killed in that time, that's quite remarkable. Okay, there were a lot of Cambodians who died at that period, not a lot. I mean, more people were killed by the mines and the UXOs, the UXBs, but there were the political assassinations tapered off. People felt more protected, they could travel, they could go from one end of the country to the other. Markets opened. I mean, maybe we should say that capitalism is winning, except it sounds too much like Donald Trump and it sounds too much like America. How do I put that? It's a hard call, but I look out in the street and I see something which is totally different from, I came here in 1990 when it was still, people were starving. People had nothing. There were no communications. There was hardly any clean water. There was hardly any power. And in the next 2 years, it lit up like a candle. It lit up like a Christmas tree. And now, as we say, you can't recognize from what it was from before anymore. And I suppose we have to remind young people of how Cambodia got to this particular point in time and this point in development. I'm not a politician, I'm an observer, a documenter. And for me, that process here has been almost about as much of my own recovery from a war and the recovery from Vietnam and the conflict. And I feel kind of like parallel to the whole thing in a sense of Cambodia and my own history kind of segged together in a rather bizarre way. I first came here in 1964. I was back here last year. Maybe I'm somehow addicted to this country, some sort of obsession, some sort of Graham Greene. I'm not quite sure how to put it. There's a feeling to Indochina, Landushim, that is hard to disseminate. It's hard to actually define that feeling somehow. There's a mystery, there's an odeur, there's a sensation about this part of the world that doesn't exist in Africa, it doesn't exist in South America or Central America. It's unique. And I think once you've been pulled in by it, once you've been somehow, your first addiction, your first puff of that pipe, you are then forever trapped and destined, I suppose, to come back. I mean, it's our fate in a certain sense.